Welcome. I think you all know why you're here, but this is the Gnomon live stream, and we are very, very proud to host the All-Star Artist Jams for LightBox Expo online, happening all this weekend. LightBox is an incredible artist conference that was debuted last year in Pasadena, California, and continues to innovate ways to connect artists online this year, needing to move the entire platform online. So huge applause for Bobby and his team for making this happen. So for those of you who, yeah, absolutely. So those of you who are joining us, what you see in front of you, if you haven't figured it out already, is a cloud-based collaborative canvas that we have all of our amazing guest artists drawing and painting on right now. It's called Magma Studio, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about that as we roll on with LightBox Expo. But I also wanted to just welcome you guys here to the Gnomon stream as well. If you're not familiar with Gnomon, we were actually watching our student reel. That's all student artwork from our school that we were showing on video before we transitioned over to this part of the stream. And we're basically a 3D art school in Hollywood. We specialize in training artists for careers in VFX, games, and animation. And we've been around for over 20 years, and we've trained many of the artists behind some of your favorite games and films. So with that, guys, I want to welcome our incredibly talented artists who are already filling up this canvas with some incredible things right now. So, guys, if we would just go round robin really quick, in no particular order, just speak up. If you guys could introduce yourselves really quick, just share your name and kind of what it is that you do.
I'll go first. Okay. Someone has to. I'm Miranda. I'm a freelance illustrator and occasional science illustrator. I mostly just do like painting and creatures and stuff. You can usually find me under the pseudonym Fawnwood on Instagram. And I just finished a bug book that I will be selling online later today.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I'll go. My name's Brian Kesinger. I'm an animation director. I've been working in animation for 25 years now, and gotten to do a lot of stuff within Disney, from traditional layout, CG layout, visual development, all that sort of thing. And in my spare time, I like to draw octopuses.
Awesome.
Oh my
God.
Go next.
Where was
I? I'll go next. I'm Cassey Kuo. I'm a storyboard artist at Titmouse right now, and thank you for having me part of this drawing jam.
Awesome. Yeah.
Great. I think I'll go next. My name is Prem. I'm a story artist and a character designer here in LA. I did some work for Netflix and DreamWorks and stuff like that, and I'm currently on a project for a studio in Canada. Yeah.
Awesome.
You can find my work at PremSaiGS on Instagram. PremSaiGS.
I'll go next. I'm David DePasquale. I am a lead character designer at Netflix right now. And I just finished my first children's book.
Awesome.
Oh, congratulations. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, I can draw. Yay!
I'll go next. My name is Gray Chen. I'm currently a color designer at Netflix Animation on a secret project. Before this, I was on She-Ra and the Princess of Power, and also on Solar Opposites. And I'm happy to be here.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Let's see.
Who hasn't gone?
I'll go next. I'm Jason Chan. I'm a visual development artist at Riot Games.
Welcome, Jason.
Thanks.
Okay, my name is Mattias Adolfsson. I'm a freelance illustrator in Sweden, and I've done so much things. I can't remember it all. But I
Mhm.
try to be as independent as possible, not take on freelance work if I can.
Welcome,
Right, I go
Matthias.
next. I'm Marie-Alice. I live in Edinburgh, but I'm French, and I write and illustrate books.
Welcome.
I'll go next. My name's Andy Cung. I'm a storyboard artist, is wrapped up at Netflix. Yeah, so that's what I do. And then you can find me on my Instagram at Andy B. Cung. So.
Let's see here. Is there anybody who hasn't been introduced yet? See, I don't think we heard.
I'll
from
go
you,
next.
Terryl. Okay.
My name is Terryl Whitlatch. I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I'll let you go first, Terryl. Go ahead, Terryl.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yes, go.
Oh, okay. I was just introduced by Manny Carrasco. My name is Carol Whitlatch, and I'm a creature and character designer, and I've worked on all kinds of things for about the past 35 years. So I'm a bunch of this, a bunch of that. I'm honored to be here.
Yep. I'm Manny Carrasco. I'm one of the founders of a group called Expedition Art, which Terryl is actually a part of. And I've been a concept artist and an animator in my past life. Now I live in Utah, and I do a lot of wildlife work and freelance illustration here and there. But I've worked on everything from 2D animation to video games to hanging the moon, I guess.
Awesome. All right. I want to make sure we didn't miss anybody. Is there anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to introduce yet? I think we've got everybody, right? Okay. And I'm just checking our waiting room. It doesn't, I think Jama Jurabaev was supposed to join us today, but that may have changed. So we'll see if Jama joins us in a bit. Otherwise, we have got plenty of art happening anyway. For those of you who might have just been tuning in, this is Magma Studio. It is something that was created for use for Lightbox Expo Online this weekend. And essentially, it's a cloud-based collaborative canvas that artists can paint and draw on together. Functions like kind of like a Photoshop Lite in a sense, but online. And it's really incredible. So each of these amazing artists who just introduced themselves are currently, I just sort of asked them to warm up as we got on the Zoom call together, but they've already filled the canvas with some really incredible stuff in a very short period of time. So what we're here to do today essentially is, this isn't a demo, this isn't a talk or a presentation. This is getting to hang with some really incredible artists on a platform and in a way that we've never really done before. And when you attend a live event, you've got seating and there's people who can be far away from the stage or whatnot. But what's really cool about the way that we've needed to communicate with each other in social distancing is everybody gets the same view right now. And we're all just getting to kind of peek over the shoulder of these artists and watch them draw and have fun and collaborate. So yeah, get settled in and enjoy what you're looking at. There'll probably be a little bit of banter. I'll do my best to grab some questions from the chat in Twitch and bring those up, and we'll just keep rolling forward. So welcome, everyone.
I'm soaked.
Yeah.
Dude.
So everybody, how was it kind of getting used to this platform? It seems like it was pretty intuitive for everybody.
Very intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
for
intuitive.
sure.
Really robust.
Surprisingly intuitive.
Yeah, really, really nice.
What's interesting was I actually found, I think it used to be called something else. And then at the beginning of quarantine, people at my job, we were sometimes doing like drawing sessions every other week or something like that, just to hang out, because like we miss hanging out with each other. So it's cool what it's like become since then.
Well, it's amazing how as soon as quarantine happened and the entire planet started socially distancing, which is, I'm still wrapping my head around that, by the way. I think, just like, when you hear of someone who like loses one of their main senses, but then the other senses get heightened, it's kind of like we've started developing some really cool, innovative superpowers under the current conditions. And I think something like magma is a great example of that.
Keep getting error messages. Can't have to reload the page all the time.
Oh,
not sure.
That's strange. What browser are you using?
Chrome.
Okay. Have you tried taking a look at the help file in Magma?
I can check
Chrome?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's. I haven't run into that problem myself, but there may be a note there.
Yeah. It can be. My Wi-Fi might be problematic, so I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm watching Netflix in the room upstairs.
Okay.
This was a smart move to host it on Twitch. So that way, because I heard the other Zoom were being limited by how many people can get in.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, no, it just seemed to work best for these streams, hosting them on the Gnomon's Twitch stream. And, basically what we're doing is we're streaming a screen share of our Zoom call on top of Magma here.
That's cool.
So,
That's so cool.
we get all our artists in via Zoom, and then the whole world gets to watch.
This is great because I'm hosting a roundtable too, and then we're using GoToMeeting, but there's a cap of 250 people.
Oh my!
So then everyone's like, we have to figure something out in the meantime. So I was like, seeing how you're doing this on Twitch, this is like, I think we'll try to migrate over to this type of platform, so that way everyone can watch it. This is smart.
Yeah, we. Oh, go ahead.
Will this be available afterwards?
Yes, it should be available on the Gnomon Twitch channel. So all the
great.
broadcasts that we do there wind up in our backlog.
Great.
And I don't believe we're streaming. I think we're just streaming on Twitch today. A lot of our other Gnomon streams we will do multi-platform streaming, so there'll be YouTube and Facebook as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, we stay pretty active here. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing, during this quarantine season is we've really ramped up our content creation for our channel here. Lightbox is a major highlight for that, but we are regularly hosting at least a couple of really cool events with industry artists every month on our Twitch stream. And you can see the backlog on the Twitch channel, or you can go to Facebook, and we've organized under playlists. We've basically taken over 100 events that we've done and categorize them, whether it has to do with games or VFX or those kind of things. And it's just available to the public for free.
Incredible.
All right, I'm gonna take a look at our chat and see. We've had there's been a ton of banter going on, but let's see if we can pick out a few questions. We have got quite a few viewers, I believe, which is awesome.
Everyone's so good on this. Man, everyone's art's so good. I love this.
Oh, man. So fun.
All right, so I think I'm going to do right now, just so I can make the canvas a little bit bigger in the screen share that I'm doing on Twitch, is because most of us have our heads down anyway because we're drawing, which is as it should be, right? I'm going to take the little video boxes and from the Zoom call, I'm going to move that out of frame, and I'm going to make our canvas just a little bit larger because this is awesome.
Getting cramped.
Yeah, we might be getting ready for a prompt here soon. Looks like almost all the space is getting filled up. And for anybody who hasn't tried already, maybe everybody already knows that you can also zoom in if you want to zoom in a little bit further to get in some finer detail or just a smaller drawing. It's the same thing as in Photoshop. I think Control Z works to kind of drag a zoom across the screen. One of my favorite things of the few times that I've gotten to jump on these magma calls is watching all of the different art styles emerge at the same time. It's like watching a garden grow, because it all just kind of comes up at the same time, and everybody, you get to see how uniquely talented every person is, and never quite seen something like that before.
Do you see how, I mean, since you're at Noma, do you see any benefits of how this would be educationally for people?
Oh yeah, I think this is an amazing educational tool. You know, even on the classes at Gnomon, everything was moved to our custom built online platform. So when quarantine hit, we didn't really miss a beat. We were able to transition our entire program online. And part of that is, even though some of the classes might be, you know, I've been taking a class in ZBrush, for example, creature sculpting. And a lot of times the instructor will, you know, open up Photoshop just as a visual aid, right? To bring in reference images or use it as a whiteboard for lecture purposes. But I can see where having a collaborative whiteboard in that kind of a setting would be amazing. Even like in a design class, you know, where, you know, things can be executed live and be interacted with. So I know that one of the ways it's been really neat for me to learn art is the times that I've gotten to just sit with another artist, right? Rather than kind of completing a piece and sending it off for Redline. Just getting to sit and sketch with them and having them in that live context be able to go, well, try it like this, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this is amazing for that. And that being said, you know, in context at Gnomon, even though we are primarily teaching digital production, which is going to have to do with 3D, you know, VFX, animation, 3D modeling, we really believe in the fundamentals. So we also incorporate, you know, a lot of Photoshop classes, but then, you know, some of the art school fundamentals like figure drawing, anatomy, composition, color and light theory, and then some great concept design classes. Because, you know, if you want to work in 3D, having that as a foundation is going to let you, you know, kind of build that much stronger and higher as you build up your skills. One of the things that I love seeing happen, I think, in the art world, it's been happening for a long, long time already in concept design, but the kind of the gap between 2D and 3D has become narrower and narrower. And you see a lot of 2D artists using 3D as a basis for outputting an amazing 2D image.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we'll be joined by Jama today, but I know that Jurabaev has been really doing some cool stuff with 3D tools for concept and visual development and things like that. The one thing about Zoom is I have to glance at our waiting room from time to time just to make sure nobody's waiting to be admitted. I think that's a setting that I'll change in the future. But so I think it was Andy. I think you were waiting in there for a little while. As I was getting
it was like a day.
So
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sorry, there was no craft service in there. You know,
It's fine.
pretty.
I was surprised that it didn't ask for. I mean, it asked for a password actually. We didn't.
Oh yeah, and you should have received that in email, right? Did you get the meeting
Yeah,
ID?
yeah.
Okay, good. Well, everybody's here,
Yeah,
so I
like-
guess you did.
Like, I'm gonna go brush my teeth. Wait for him to give me a call back.
Well, you know, I took the video off the canvas, so if you need to brush your teeth now or whatever, like, I can see you. It's all good.
Well, because I have my AirPods on, so I was like, man, I hope he doesn't like accept me right when I'm brushing my teeth, because then you hear like. But I came in just before. So, given COVID this year, what has been some positive things or awesome things that has come for everyone? I'm kind of curious if there's anything cool to share for people.
The lack of commute is definitely a positive.
The lack of
Yeah.
commute?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We started like growing our own garden and stuff too, which is really cool. Like, so we're getting like vegetables and, you know, it's cool to just do like
nice.
homey things, you know.
I've been picking up Vietnamese food, how to cook, because I've been craving it. So I was like, oh man, like I can't go to a Vietnamese restaurant, I have to pick it up myself. So it's been a fun hobby, picking up more cooking.
I learned how to make sushi.
Ooh,
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
very, very fun.
My dogs have been happy.
Oh,
Aww.
it's because you're home now.
They're like, this is the best year ever.
Oh.
I think that's one of the things I love is there's been more time for skill building. So, people are learning new things, less commute, more time for art, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most positive things that's happened for me out of this is getting to do what we're doing right now. Because of social distancing, we started doing a lot more online content at Gnomon. And so I've had the great privilege and honor of being able to host some fantastic artists such as yourselves. And the kind of connection that it elicits, I think, is unparamount. It's unprecedented. Oh, this is so cool.
Definitely weird because I feel like with this social distancing, I've actually been like communicating with people more in some like weird twist. So that also has been nice for me to actually like reach back out to some people I haven't like maybe had the time to talk to when you do have that commute or you are working in the office. Because I'm from the East Coast and I moved out to LA, so there's like that time difference. So by the time I get home, it's like midnight for them. So it's been nice to like check in with friends and family over there. But, yeah, it's been nice. It's weird and nice at the same time. It's like I miss seeing people obviously in person, but the trade-offs.
I'm just giving everybody fair warning. I found a way to bring the video windows back into the stream without covering up the canvas. So finish up brushing your teeth or whatever it is you might be doing.
I really like sleeping in until like 8:45 and then getting out of bed and then rolling into work.
Oh my gosh.
Waking up at like 10 minutes before a meeting.
So I have a funny story in regards to like beds and meetings. And then Dave knows because actually Dave doesn't know about this but me and Dave worked on a project together recently. And so there was a meeting at 1:00, which was from 1 to 2. And then I had a pitch. Maybe I should be saying this out loud. But what's done is done. So I had
You've started. There's no going back, Andy.
Okay, I had a pitch from 3 to 4, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm really tired. I'm gonna take a nap within this 1 hour gap."
Oh,
and
no!
Then my alarm didn't go off, and I actually ended up oversleeping into my pitch. I was like 20 minutes late into my pitch, which is not good. And then I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't tell them that I overslept." So I was like, I was on the toilet and I clogged it. And everyone's like, "Oh, we totally buy that. That's fine." And then I was like, "Oh,
that's better."
I love how that's somehow less embarrassing than oversleeping.
I know. That's, my friend was like, "Why would you say that?" I was like, "Oh, I guess you're right. That is. Sleeping is less embarrassing. The clogging the toilet is worse." But...
Going for the
Just
pity.
been like, man, I just didn't feel good, and I had to relax, and I felt sick,
Oh man, I felt so bad.
I mean, but you did some killer boards for the project, so I'm sure it wasn't that bad.
Well, what's funny was like the joke afterwards was like, everyone was like, "Hey, make sure you go to the bathroom before your pitches from now on."
I think I will have to leave because I can't just get pushed out all the time. So better luck next time. It's looking really good, but good night.
Oh, Matthias, very sorry to hear that.
Oh, Matthias.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Is there any chance of being able to use less bandwidth or with the Netflix? Or?
There's some problem with the. I don't think it's the bandwidth. It's some problem I get. I can try to update my pad and maybe come back. I will try that.
Okay, and you've got my email, so please feel free to email me if there's another session you want to jump on. If you've been able to kind of resolve
I have another
some issues.
session on Sunday, so
okay, great.
So I will try to update it. So maybe that's the problem.
Okay. Well, sorry about that, Matthias. But
no
hope to have you back on Sunday and have you up and running.
Yeah. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Gracias.
Bye.
All right. So guys, we're only almost 40 minutes into the stream, and we've already pretty much filled up the canvas. This is amazing. What I'd like to do real quick before we transition to something else, just everybody keep drawing. But I'm going to zoom in on different pieces of art and whatnot to show the audience a closer view of what people are working on. And I would also love to hear from anyone, just, when not demoing, not teaching, but just sort of casually share about your process while you're drawing. Would anybody be up for doing that?
Sure.
Let's see, who is that?
That was Brian.
Brian, okay. I'm gonna zoom in on your work. Just gotta find you here. What part of the canvas are you on right now, Brian?
I'm at the top left, the octopus-headed woman.
Sweet. Okay, cool. I'm gonna zoom in there. There you are. I see. Okay.
So yeah, I've been. I always consider myself more of a drafts person than a painter. So a lot of my drawings start with sketching, and a majority of my artwork time is spent in the rough stages, the sketch, the concept, and I find that the more work I put into that step when I draw, that the subsequent steps go a little easier and they go a little faster. So if I really take time to do a nice rough drawing that's solid and has everything kind of put together, then the inking goes a lot faster. And if the inking goes a lot faster, then the color goes a lot faster. And when I'm not drawing digitally, I tend to do watercolor. So I treat a lot of my digital paintings like watercolor. In fact, sometimes I even paint with tea. When I'm doing more steampunky kind of pieces.
Nice.
I'll brew up like different flavors of tea and use them as colors, which smells really good. But again, it's the same process of just doing rough drawing. Like if I turn my shading layers off, you can see kind of it's all there at the start. And then I'm just going kind of in washes and adding some color to it. So that's kind of how I do things.
Very cool. And a question that I have that for you, Brian, and really for anybody else who wants to chime in, when it comes to digital painting, there's so many options, right? You can approach your piece 100% a la prima, like very painterly, and just use colors as you use them, and of course you've got all the different adjustment layers,
right,
and blending modes. How do you find kind of a balance between the two? Do you tend to say more like you would be in a traditional medium?
No, I take full advantage of being able to mess with color and all that, again, because I'm not really a painter myself, so I'll tend to just block in shapes and colors and play with that hue saturation value till I find like a combination that's pleasing to me.
Mm-hmm. And then I know that like when I was first starting to do digital painting, the other thing is you can really get in the weeds with all of the different tricks that you can do.
Yes.
Or it may be not fair to call them tricks. I think we use it as a tool, but right. Things like your multiply layer and what's the best way to get, your shadows or, that kind of thing. Do you have any advice for artists that kind of feel like I'm losing the quality of my image, or I feel like I'm getting lost with too many options?
Yeah, I would say, try not to be seduced by the dark side. What would you call it? The tools that are there are really helpful, but they can't replace fundamentals of drawing, right?
Yep.
And kind of like Photoshop, Procreate, all of those will help your art look better, but they won't make you a better artist per se. I certainly have gotten more comfortable doing wider ranges of stuff because of those programs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very grateful for them, but it's still, comes down to having a pencil and a sketchbook, and for me at least, keeping up those skills.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, when you invest in the things that will always be true when it comes to art,
Mm-hmm.
it exactly like you said, to your point, I think it appropriates the best way to use a tool.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, so when I started understanding things like, you know, the difference between value contrast and, color contrast in composition, suddenly I was like, oh, okay, now I know what I want to use this blending mode for, and not use it for. Yeah.
Right.
But in the work that I do at Gnomon, I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of young artists, often in high schools, and then definitely at community colleges and things like that. And I think one of the pitfalls that can be really easy to fall into in an age where we have access to an insurmountable amount of learning online, and then, you know, digital tools have become so democratized, right? I see students, you know, they rush into, you know, relying on the digital tool, and neglect things like the fundamentals, because it can seem faster, easier, more seductive, to play off of your quote earlier. But it's been so, you know, I think it's been so great watching some of these students, as soon as they start picking up those fundamental skills, how it ups their digital game exponentially.
Yes. That's awesome.
All right, let's see. Well, thanks for sharing, Brian.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to kind of continue to tour our canvas here. I feel like I have the coolest job in the world today. This is so much fun. Let's see here. Oops. Undo that. Accidentally drew on the canvas. All right. Let's see. Just looking around here. Manny, is that you drawing? It looks like almost like a snow leopard or a...
Yeah, it's a little palace cat.
Nice.
It's called a palace's cat.
Beautiful. Would you mind sharing a little bit about, you know, what you're doing here, or anything you just want to say in general about your process?
Well, it's all really basic shapes, right? I try to stick to everybody's way of drawing, but it's kind of like sculpting, going back and forth. For me right now, it's more playing with this program. I'm just kind of having fun with it. So I'm kind of, you know, pushing the limit back and forth to see what I could do, what's achievable. But it's just a matter of sketching and trying, you know, pushing and pulling, taking away. I'm just having fun with it right now. I don't know why. I guess I watched a documentary last night that a friend of mine filmed on cats of India, and it was on my mind. So that was the first thing. And there's such a crazy looking creature. It is very much like a snow leopard, very flat. It's just playing around, sketching. I have a very crazy way of sketching nowadays, because I've sketched so much that you know, all the imaginary reference points that you're taught in school, as far as, you know, making a circle and dividing it and spacing. I kind of do that in my head now. So I use a lot of landmarks as I draw, to get proportions right, back and forth. I do a lot of life sketching, a lot of animal stuff. So you have to be pretty quick as far as getting down a system that works quick and fast, and animals move a lot. Unless you're drawing sleeping lions or whatever, they move pretty quick. So you have to sort of have a very gesturally way of doing things. So
yeah, you're bringing up a really interesting point, actually, kind of dovetailing with what I was talking with Brian about. And I think, you know, when a younger artist is going and watching demos by various artists, just watching an artist draw without interaction, you know, you've kind of developed for yourself sort of your own shorthand, right? It doesn't mean that you're not paying attention to shape language, but you don't have to literally draw out the shapes anymore.
No, exactly. And I remember, like, back in the day with even the Preston Blair books, you know, they would show you, you know, for very animated characters, you know, you draw a circle, and then, you know, you subdivide the circle. And I remember as a kid not knowing, not only was I just a kid, but I couldn't speak any English. So the little dotted lines I would show, you know, showing dimensionality. They would draw, a solid line in front, and they would cross through the back and it'd be dotted. I'd be going through that whole process literally, and I was thinking, my God, this is so hard, right? So it's now it's nice to see it visually done,
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, I remember, being a younger artist and watching someone draw online. Say, for example, someone is yourself. I'm seeing a result that's visually beautiful, but because you've got your own shorthand, I'm not stopping and realizing that you've already invested all that time in understanding forms and shape language, and all those fundamental principles. So I think sometimes people don't realize that they're seeing all of that in someone's shorthand.
No, exactly.
And they just expect, I should just be able to do that right out the gate.
Yeah, and that's a really good explanation for it. Exactly, that's a very, very good explanation. It's years and years of sketching and doodling, right? And all of a sudden you those little you have like almost like a Chewbacca. You have a co-pilot that sort of guides you.
That's great. I'm loving all the Star Wars references, by the way, guys. This is fun. No, this is absolutely beautiful, Manny. This is really cool.
Thank you.
It's Star Wars.
I'm gonna pan over here to the right just a little bit. Let's see here. Gray, is this you doing the? Did you do the little painted scene here? So this is a bit different than some of the other stuff we're seeing on the canvas. Looks very painterly. Would you mind talking to us a little bit about the way that you approach this kind of stuff?
Sure. I kind of didn't really know what I was going to draw for today's session until about 5 minutes after we started the call. But I'm more of a painter than like a drawer in general. I love playing with different shapes, different colors, and like seeing how lighting can really affect a painting and kind of tell like a mood or time of day just from all that. So I really love playing with colors. Right now I'm kind of just playing around with the program. This is the first time I've used the program. I'm with my personal work, I rely on a lot of textured brushes, things that look like dry brush or pastels. So right now I'm using like a basic round brush to do this painting, and I'm kind of playing with like a little bit of cross hatching to kind of show a little texture, show like different opacities. So yeah,
and I love the sometimes I found for me when it comes to painting in particular, having some limitations, like fewer options. Like you say, you're using a round brush, you don't have your normal tools with you that you're accustomed to using. So you're utilizing things like cross hatching and different ways of blending some of your softer edges and stuff like that. And it's kind of nice to have a limitation to just sort of focus you in on one approach sometimes. But this is gorgeous. I love the color composition a lot. I really like the way it's coming together.
Thank you.
And I've heard a lot of artists talk about, some artists are more kind of shape oriented, more painterly in the sense of like it's easier to visualize something once you start getting some filled in shapes on the canvas, as it were. And others are, much more drawing oriented. You got to get your lines out and kind of get some of your structure that's there. And then of course, everybody's kind of a blend of the two. Gray, do you find that you're much more painting leaning? Is it you like working with volume and shape in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's a lot easier to kind of just get like a really large brush out and kind of just like be able to move the edges around. It feels much more organic. I think with line, sometimes you think too much about like, oh, are the proportions correct, or is it looking the right way? Whereas with paint, you can kind of fix that really easily. So that's kind of why I like using paint more.
Yeah, to me, it kind of feels a little bit like sculpting. You can get that clay on the page, but you can always erase away edges or shape it or change the volume of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I didn't think it was possible, but the page has filled up even more since we've been going. All right.
There won't be a single white space on this afterwards.
Right.
There won't be.
I feel like if you give an artist like any kind of margin on any kind of paper, we're just gonna fill it up.
We're
like,
gonna fill it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna see how many pink heads I can populate through this paint.
I love that you're interacting with the other drawings. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Who did the this really beautiful? I'm looking in the lower left-hand corner, an image of looks like a large dog or wolf or fox together with, I think it's an elf. They're kind of hugging.
Yeah, I did that. It's something I started to draw or doodle. I'm Cassey, by the way.
Hey, Cassey.
I migrated around the canvas.
Yeah, no, this is gorgeous though.
It's a character I started doodling after I think on Facebook there's a character design challenge, and I just always have wanted a pet, but growing up I've never had a pet, and then my apartment doesn't allow pets right now, so it's just like I've always wanted a dog. So I drew this character elf with like this ridiculously large fox, and in my head I'm like, that's me.
I love it.
With a big fox.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember from the introductions. Are you working in animation?
Yes, I'm a storyboard artist on a TV show.
Yeah, one of the things I love is I love watching animators draw because animators have so much mileage, right? And storyboard artists, you're constantly drawing and needing to move to the next image and so forth. So I love, some of my friends who are animators, and as well with you, just you get some beautiful indications of gesture and kind of how you approached it with not only the shape language, but also the motion that you're putting in there.
Thank you. I actually started in character design and viz dev illustration and transitioned into storyboard because I was having much more fun like drawing exploratory sketches, or like I feel like in early stages of character design there's that opportunity to like play a bit more, and I always had so much fun then, and then the moment I had to like tighten things up I'm like, oh, it's boring, and then like, oh, storyboarding is like sketching indefinitely, so
that's a great way to put it. No, I've heard some artists be like, I don't think I could ever do storyboarding. Just the sheer volume sounds really intimidating, but it's nice to hear the other side of that experience where it's just like, I get to draw a lot. That's really cool.
Yeah, but sometimes like in opportunities like this, it's nice because I feel like with boards, sometimes you forget to slow down. And then having the opportunity to like, oh, I can spend an hour on a single drawing.
Yeah.
Not like how many drawings can I like cram into this hour?
Yes.
Kind of a nice reversal.
No, and I've talked with animators and 3D artists that are working in pre-visualization. So they're kind of creating those animated storyboards. And it's interesting because sometimes you get the impression it's sort of like a director trapped in an animator's body. Because it's like they love to think big picture, and they're like thinking of the next thing that's going to happen. So it's there's that drive to move to the next image and get the point across. That don't have to spend 3 hours rendering a character's nose because you want to move forward, and keep telling the story. Yeah.
It's so nice to just like spend time on like, oh, you get the impression, you get the idea, and you're like, I don't have to work on it anymore. I can move on to the next one. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air to some extent. Because I think the moment I transition to like the cleanup phase or like I'm tightening things up, I feel like my marks start to get stiff or stale. And for me, a lot of the joy that comes from purely drawing is the fact that like everything feels lively, or like I feel like I'm, I don't know, alive with the drawing, as cheesy as that sounds, but for me that's a very important part of my process, or like mental process of staying interested and engaged with whatever I'm working on.
Yes.
And I think it's so easily translate, like the moment I get bored you can tell. The marks just become lackluster.
Well, and you're reminding me of like how important it is to continue to be influenced by people who do disciplines different than the one that you do. One of my peer mentors started out as an animator and then did a lot of directing, right? So, you know, I was working on more, you know, non-animated 2D images for concept, but he really helped to push me towards things like movement, you know, what's happening, you know, and how is the character moving and how to put life into them. And then the director notes were always like, what's the story here? So I love it when you can interact with people doing a different discipline, because there's so much that can be gleaned from what they do, even if you don't do the same thing.
For sure, because it's all like a collaborative process. Everything like leads into the next part of the
and there's so many different kinds of jobs or places for artists to fit in the industry too. I know that, you know, a lot of times only a handful of them get a lot of the attention, but you know, there's so many different positions, and you know, it's fun when you see the light go on for someone. Like they think they want to do this thing, but then they try something that they didn't even know existed, and they realize that this is their great love.
That's exactly what happened with me. Like, I was doing character design a lot. I was doing like 2D character design or like business stuff on the East Coast, so it's much more like advertisement and commercials. And I was talking to my art director and kind of like low-key complaining about what I liked or didn't like about the process, because for me, I'm very like process driven. That's like what makes me have fun for my day job kind of thing. And then we were just talking, and he basically at one point was like, everything you're describing that you enjoy about character design or like the design process just sounds like you want to do storyboards. And I was like, I never even considered that, because it's like I came from illustration, so that's even more like less animated. So it's just like one of those things I just didn't even consider, because it was like too many steps away almost from what I was used to. And I was like, huh, you might be onto something. So then made the transition. I've loved it since.
No, and that's I love those kind of stories, because, you know, you never want to get tunnel vision, right? Like you always want to keep yourself open and exposed to new things, and you never know ultimately how that's going to influence you.
Yeah, and as an artist, it's so easy to get tunnel vision, because like you're saying, we just like nose to the canvas, and then you kind of like things pass you by. Or at least that happens to me.
Absolutely. Well, if just some fair warning, everybody, in a few minutes, just because our canvas is getting so full, we're kind of transitioning into the second half of our time.
Perfect.
And I think what we'll do is, you know, let everybody kind of wrap up their last few lines or brush strokes, and then give everybody an opportunity to save out this canvas to a file if you want to. I know I'm going to do that. And then... yeah, I think what we'll do is just turn off all our respective layers and start up some new layers. And I've got a prompt for us to work with, and we'll play around with that a little bit. But this is so good. And I wonder too if, like, it almost seems like everybody subconsciously harmonized their color choices with everyone else. I'm not seeing you know, too many clashing things. There's some really cool
transitions from like blue to orange. It's so interesting.
Yes. Yes,
there's a gradient across the page.
Absolutely.
That's really fantastic.
Let's see. Oh, you know, Terryl, I actually recently got to see the event that you did at Gnomon a while back, talking about creature design. I started working at Gnomon just last year, and in all of the content creation we were doing, I was like combing through our catalog of videos and things like that, and came across that one, and that was such a delight to watch.
Oh, thank you.
It was really fun.
Which one was that?
Well, one of the big takeaways for me was because I was actually in the middle of a character design course, and so I watched yours, and you know, not character design but creature design. Sorry, I've done more character work, but moving into creatures, there's so many more possibilities. And you know, I think what you conveyed really, really well, if I can say, is you basically just said there's no loss for inspiration ever. In nature, you know, creativity can be sustainable if you just open your eyes and look around.
Yeah, it's nature is it's our treasure box. And whenever you feel stuck, just go outside, or if you are stuck inside, turn on some David Attenborough's wildlife, specials and such. And I think it also helps if you're a character designer. I think it keeps you from being derivative. I tend to see there's a tendency towards homogeneity, especially in younger artists, students, because they grew up, I love Disney and DreamWorks and all, but if you're growing up just drawing that the studio release product, and you think that's the way you're supposed to draw a lion, if it looks like Simba, that's kind of hard to break out of that. But if you're looking at real life, like what Manny does all the time, and you see a real lion, you see a real cougar, palace cat, whatever animal it is, and you start to recognize that it's not just a type of animal, it's not a type of lion, it's an individual lion. And you look at another lion, it is a lion, but you can tell the difference just like you can with people.
Oh yeah.
And so if you can draw a real lion, you can draw any sort of lion. It's like what Chuck Jones famously said, if you want to draw a funny looking horse, it sure helps to be able to draw a real one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, I forget, were we just talking with Cassey about not being able to have a pet growing up? I was in the same boat. Grew up in a military family, moved all over the place, never had a pet. Got my first pet for my whole family. We brought home a cherry head tortoise from a local captive red breeder here in Southern California. And focusing a little bit more on creature design and then having this live tortoise in the house has been so fun. Like, as you said, there's so many things to observe that you didn't know were there to observe, and just one unique creature.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So all the more reason to be good stewards of the wildlife and domestic animals too.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and just opened your eyes to so much more. A lot of people, and not that there's nothing wrong with it. There can be so much focus on character work that for me, branching out into creature as well as prop, I just realized it's all storytelling. What in creatures you have so much freedom, right? Because so many different anatomy types you can choose from.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But also with props too. I got to do a job making some props for a game, and you better believe that there's lots of story, in a prop.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a prop, an artifact has a history. Why is it designed that way beyond just designed to do a certain thing? But why does it have a particular look? I mean, for example, in vehicles, or even to say you're going to design a type of sword. Well, I mean, there's all types of swords, but some are just beautiful to look at. They don't have to be. On top of, I mean, there's that layer on top of it,
Absolutely. Well, and I don't know if this is a normal thing, but I find that, paying so much attention to creature and to different anatomies, and what you had mentioned about not just seeing all lions as the same, but learning how to see the uniqueness in each individual creature, that's definitely having an influence also on my character work too. Like it's so many more possibilities and mental reference available.
I have 2 horses. One's a mare, one's a gelding. The mare she's a dressage prospect in training, and so she's like this clean slate, and we're working on developing all these buttons for her. And then I have whom I call my schoolmaster, who's my good old dependable gelding, who's very forgiving for me, But the mare is very sweet, and she's very sensitive, and like, oh, did I do it wrong? Oh no. And just look at her cross-eyed, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. But the gelding, he's more like, hi, I love you so much. I love everybody. And where's my snack? It's really fun.
The different personalities.
And and one's the mare is a thoroughbred off-the-track racehorse, and she's a beautiful. She's really, really pretty. She's a black bay, and then the gelding, he's all black except for a white star. and his name is Vader, for obvious reasons. But
Love
he's
it.
like the opposite in personality of Darth Vader.
That's great. And he's force sensitive, of course.
Oh well, yes, he says, "May the horse be with you."
Oh,
Yes.
oh boy. Okay. You've had some time to work with this theme, I can tell.
Yes.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get ready to turn off each of our respective layers to kind of start a fresh canvas. I don't want to delete them. I don't want to lose them. But kind of wrap up, maybe save a file if you want. And then I'll see when everybody's ready, just as I think the different layers start to disappear from the canvas. And then we'll try something new together.
We'll turn it off.
So we turn off our layers?
Yeah, unless if you wanted to go up to file and save a PNG of the current state of the canvas for yourself, you're welcome to do that. I can wait for that.
That's fine.
Everything's okay.
And you should be able to, I've noticed that the link that I shared for this session on Magma, if you save that link or copy it to your clipboard or something, it should be up. It'll continue to be up after our session today, so you can come back to it. I've noticed that that's the case for some of the previous sessions that I've been a part of.
I think that I'm not leaving my layer correctly. So how do I need to do that again? I left it, but I need to turn it off, you're saying.
Oh, yeah, let's see here. Let me just move our video window here.
Okay, so I'm number 29 and number 44.
Number 29 and number 44?
Yeah.
All right, just a moment.
My browser refreshed like 20 times. So I think I have like 20 layers. So I can't find which one.
Okay. All you should have to do, Terryl, is just click the little eye icon.
Yeah, I just did that. It's gone. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
I actually got logged out of all the layers.
So, yeah, I got logged out of all the layers too, so I can't.
So I can't turn off.
It should realize.
Oh,
it should realize if you left, and you could just double click on the layer to reclaim it again.
Yeah.
But I don't know which layer is mine. There's so many. Just ignore the pink heads running around.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it. Okay, cool.
I'll paint over it. That's what I'm gonna paint over these heads.
Yeah, you can just paint white, I guess.
Sure, and you can decide what you want to do with your stuff. I don't have the heart to ask anybody to paint over their own work or anything like that.
What about if we create a new layer above everything and then just
let's try that. Does somebody want to give that a try?
White.
Just fill it with white.
Oh.
Is it going? Are we able to get that white layer up?
It's not letting me create a new layer. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I can't create.
Oh, maybe.
I might have to refresh.
Let me try. I wonder if it'll just let me start a new file and then share that link
Prem's
with you
a
guys.
savior.
Let's do that.
Oh, I just painted white. That's all.
But it didn't go away.
Yeah, it didn't go away. I was just painting white at the top in case.
But you say you guys are having a hard time creating additional layers right now?
Yeah, it has a limit. It has a layer limit.
Yeah, I'm gonna try starting a new file, and I will share a new link to a fresh Magma canvas in the chat, and then you guys can just join me there. Hang on a second.
Okay.
So funny. All right. Oh man, how many people are twitching this right now? Curious.
Yeah.
7.
7 people are watching us. I feel bad for that 7.
I can tell just by watching the chat, it's way more than 7.
638.
638.
Ah! Yikes!
I've never had that many people watch me before. It's crazy.
What? I was drawing fine without knowing the number. Now I'm like,
yeah, you should have kept that a secret.
I'm okay with 7 people.
It's just 7 people with multiple accounts. That's all.
Okay, I'll think of it that way.
I was drawing pink heads, eating everyone's drawings to get their drawing energy, so I can get better from everyone.
Just setting that up. If I do this right, it should
So cool.
give you guys an invite as well. So just bear with me, and guys on Twitch, just bear with us for a moment. This is a new tool.
Are there any questions from the Twitch session that people are asking? Oh yeah.
I'm going to invite, during the second half, I'm going to invite people to ask some more questions. There's been quite a bit of banter and observations. Everybody's having a great time.
That's good.
Yeah. But let's see here. I don't know why it's...
At least we're entertaining.
You know what? I'm going to have to start an entirely new Magma. I think I'm just going to exit out of this one and start a new Magma cast altogether.
Okay.
So if you lose it, don't worry. I'll get you a link in the chat real quick.
Awesome.
Ooh, a nice background.
That's a piece by Jurabaev. Yeah.
I want to live in that house.
I forgot that I was doing a screen share, so then you guys got to see my desktop.
Yeah, you're sharing it with everybody.
At least your desktop isn't messy. I have like thousands of icons on my desktop.
Oh my goodness.
I'm always so ashamed.
Oh my god, I'm the same.
Every time I get a new
screenshots.
Every time I get a new computer, I always say, I'm gonna keep it really organized. Before you know it, there's like 9 million.
Annie, do you have folders of desktops?
Yeah, and then it's like final underscore final piece. Yeah.
I have, we have the cloud, but I also have like 4 external hard drives. But then, that's 35 years of PSDs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
That's like probably terabytes and terabytes of PS. That's amazing.
My poor computer's about,
So do you label it as like hard drive 1, hard drive 2, and just keep on dumping all the hard drives to the other hard drives?
One of my hard drives is called Little Blue Hard Drive because it's blue, and the other one's like Little Black Hard Drive.
Aww.
Yeah, and then the other ones, I can see them. And one just says storage.
I just got a Dropbox business account, so I've been migrating everything over online, but that takes forever to do.
Nice.
Okay, guys, the link is coming through the chat now.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right, so we just close this window then?
Yeah, if we click the link, it'll either open your browser or you can start a new tab or whatever. Just treat it like a brand new web page. I see Brian's with us. Jason. Okay, good. Everybody's coming in. Okay, so I want to just play around with a prompt, and again, this is we're all artists, and I please invite everybody to creatively interpret this however you like, based on what type of thing you just feel like making today. But we were talking earlier about I forget who brought the question up, but it was a great question. It was what are some of the positive effects of quarantine and the season of time that we're going through right now. And sharing about how, when someone loses one major sense, and, the other senses heighten, and it's a chance to kind of develop some new superpowers. So that kind of prompted the idea of superpowers and origin story for me. So maybe think about a way for you to portray a superpower that you would love to have. Maybe there was a power that you always dreamed of having when you were a kid. Or recently you thought, boy, it would be great if I could do this. So however you want to interact with that, I'm going to have everybody just start sketching kind of in their own parts of the canvas.
Oh, man. I want to be invisible. So I'm just going to draw.
Oh, man. Going to draw white on a white canvas. There you go. So just start having fun with that. And then in a little while, we'll switch things up just a little bit. And while our artists are getting started there, everybody in the chat, feel free. I'm sure that there are some questions that have come up, but the chat history is long. So if you have some questions, maybe a question that you even asked earlier that you'd like to throw in the chat right now, feel free to put some questions in there, and I'll do my best to bring up as many of them as I can. So the first questions come in from Rosanna Ran. Where did each of the artists today study? Anybody want to give a shout out to where you studied or how you went about studying?
Like school-wise?
Yeah, I think that's what they're asking. Like, so if you went through an art education, where did you do that? If you took an alternative approach, you can mention that as well.
I did the science illustration program at CSU Monterey Bay, and actually I think Terryl Whitlatch did a little presentation there.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
then I
great
ended up moving to Eugene, Oregon, so that was a cool little thing that happened. But yeah, so that was like my primary education, and now I just do like a little bit of science illustration and a lot of like other stuff. So that's me.
Awesome. I started in medical illustration at Rochester Institute of Technology, but it was too 3D driven or like 3D animation driven. I was like, I just want to draw. So at a certain point, I transitioned into illustration.
Cool.
After I took gross anatomy.
I did engineering for like 7 years, and eventually decided I wanted to get into art. So I went to a trade school called Concept Design Academy in Pasadena. And then kind of did a mix of like online classes through CGMA and Schoolism. And then did that for 3 years, and eventually I got my lucky break. So that was my art education.
I went to San Jose State. It's a public school, CSU, up in Northern California. Did about 6 years and got a BFA in animation illustration.
I actually went to FIT in New York City, and I went for editorial illustration. So like both, for print magazines, which barely exist anymore, and children's books. So I kind of found my way into animation after realizing the editorial illustration industry was, nearly dead or on its last legs, and just finding that I enjoyed doing, animation related art so much better than, so much more than just editorial illustration.
All right, let's see here. And anybody else who wants to can feel free to address, the question we just asked at any point. We had another question come in. Does anybody have any good recommended exercises for beginner artists?
Life drawing.
Life drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think it depends on your discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think so too.
If you want to be a storyboard artist, then getting good at gesture drawing and cinematography and that kind of stuff. But if you want to be a character designer, I mean, gesture is always really good for that. But even just like basic exercises like the circle, square, triangle character practice. I mean, I know it's so basic, but it really does help you kind of get used to shapes and shape language and how it can kind of elevate your characters.
For storyboarding, I do a lot of film studies. It's something I tell my students too, but the big thing is like asking yourself why. I think why is a big thing. Like, why are they doing this shot? Why are they staging a shot? Or even if it's a composition, why are they staging like this? And then what's the emotional response we're getting from that?
I know one of the, I don't know if it's so much an exercise as just a state of mind that I still have to challenge myself to get into is just give yourself permission to make bad drawings. Keep that sketchbook. Don't feel like your sketchbook has to be a curated museum collection of your best work. I have a good friend who told me once. He said, "Your sketchbook is your toilet." He said, "Just throw it all in there. Get all the crappy drawings out." because there's always something you're working on and developing when you draw. And I think today there's so much visibility that we, sometimes when I open up my sketchbook and start drawing, you can almost feel like, well, everybody from Instagram is watching me, or someone's going to see this, or, but you have to suspend that and just get into a creative space and let it be what it is. Let the process happen.
I feel like that's a big thing. Like somebody had, one of my former students was talking about how they were so apprehensive to draw like on the subway or on the bus, and for fear that people will see them. And I'm like, so what? Like, you're not committing a crime. You're drawing. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's gonna, most likely the person who you are drawing or the person who's sitting next to you watching you draw doesn't know how to draw, so it's gonna look like magic to them no matter what. I think it's just the concept of like making bad drawings in public is such a big fear for people, and getting over that hump.
Definitely.
I had a student who was fine on drawing whatever he felt, or painting whatever he felt, on his own, things he chose to do. But as soon as he would get a commission, he couldn't do it. And so he said he wanted to be a conceptual designer, except the problem is that you'll more than likely have an art director, and you're commissioned to do a job, but yet you can't do it because it's not originating from yourself for your own, but somebody obviously going to see it, and that's a real hard thing. And it's not for everybody, because when you are designing for somebody else, you're, especially like for a studio, you're performing like a singer performs or a dancer dances, and that can be intimidating.
Definitely. Well, and like you think of a singer or some of the examples that you used, no one starts out and just throws themselves up on stage right away either.
Yeah.
I think we put ourselves through too much pressure sometimes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh.
I've got a question along the lines of creative sustainability. It's kind of a related question. At some point, every job is a job, right? And there's a difference often between what we do for work as artists and what we are able to do for ourselves. And it's not to say that sometimes the job is, very, very fulfilling. And I think that our jobs should be. But I've talked to so many artists who all say the same thing. And that is, if you're not making time to just enjoy your craft, it's, you can face burnout quickly. It's very hard to sustain that creativity that you have to bring to the table at work, just by fueling it from your responsibilities. Does anybody have something that want to speak to that?
Sometimes what I do on the day-to-day grind of it, whether it's whatever type of job it is I have like a little piece of paper off to the side of what I'm working on, and maybe once an hour I'll just do some quick little like doodly things, just to kind of say, oh, here's an idea. That's my idea. It doesn't even have to be great. I mean, because it's not just only I understand what this drawing means. But a lot of times, okay, if I just take 5 minutes and just do a little bit of drawing on the side, day in and day out things, because there are sometimes those periods where you're working on a job and you just don't have the creative energy at the end of the day. Say, okay, now I'm going to do.
Sure. Yeah. That's true. Everybody's wired differently, I think of some guys like Rafael Grassetti. He somehow always manages to like keep going on the evenings and the weekends and doing those extra pieces and stuff like that. But I think we need to figure out, the best way to approach it like a ninja and do it where we can.
Yeah. I know that for myself, I can only sit for so long and I have to get out. I have to get out, and for myself, it's usually going out and riding, getting in nature. And it's so helpful when I come back to the drawing board and say, no, I'm this pure artist. I'm the slave to my art, I can't do it. And I've been doing this for most of my life, so.
Yeah. No, it's, and I love, you know, talking to artists who've been doing it for quite a while. Also recently got to do an interview with Ian McCaig on the Gnomon stream. Terryl, sometimes you guys remind me of each other because you say similar things.
Oh, we've worked together.
I know that. Yeah.
And we don't live that far away. I mean, he's up in BC and I'm up here in Northern Oregon.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, a short plane trip away.
But
I know where he lives, so I won't tell you.
the longer an artist work in the industry, it seems to me, often I hear artists like yourself and Ian bring it back around to some of those fundamental things of just like, why did you start drawing in the first place, and how to keep that sense of wonder and play in what you do. I appreciated what Ian said at Lightbox last year. He did a great workshop called Creativity Unlimited. And he shared what he does is whenever he gets a brief, even if it feels like the most boring, uninspiring assignment ever, is the first thing he does is he goes and just draws something he wants to draw, whether that's sketching people in a cafe or whatever. And then he'll let that get him, you know, keyed up and full of ideas. Yes. And then he'll basically hijack the assignment and kind of turn it into something that inspires him. Which is when I first heard that, I thought that's brilliant. You know, I think we can bring so much more to the table from that kind of a space than we give ourselves credit for often.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. Because then you can really create. I think that if you're new at this biz, for example, you're out of school, you want to please your art director because maybe it's one of your very first important jobs. It's easy to say, okay, I will draw this character the way I think they want me to draw it. But but as a conceptual artist, that's not why they hired you. Like when I work for a project on, you know, for whoever, whether it's Disney or whoever, they're not asking me to reinvent what Mickey Mouse looks like. They want, okay, what is your take on this? Otherwise they would have hired from within, you know.
Yes.
So, absolutely. Ian's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct.
Well, and I think everybody who's been in the game for a while, they all kind of converge on the same, because if it's true, it's true. And I think I love listening to those kind of points, because I think it's when you're alone, when you don't reach out, when you don't seek the advice of artists that are more mature than you, you can often just kind of get tunnel vision and feel overwhelmed by your challenges. But getting that fresh input anyway helps me to get away from like, what technique do I need to learn next, and just go, wait a minute, am I experiencing joy in this, and is that joy influencing my work?
Right. Absolutely. I think in a way Ian and I were fortunate in that we grew up before the digital age.
Yes.
And so we explored all sorts of traditional media. There weren't any rules about, other than being a good, you know, having the fundamentals, being a good drafts person, and having color theory and perspective. I mean, the fundamentals we all have to deal with. There weren't any rules. This is how you do this. This is how you draw this. This is, you know, there weren't. There weren't. I mean, as illustrators, we were trained as illustrators. And as an illustrator, you were the director, you control the light, you do the costume design, you do the cinematography and how you arrange things on a page. And so we could be in the Wild West. You know, when both of us were, you know, ILM and such, that was like even the Wild West for that studio. We were on Kerner. It wasn't at the Presidio, all nice and neat. It was a bunch of big warehouses, including a former Anheuser-Busch beer warehouse. You know, it was incredible, because all during that time were some of the most innovative things going on. A lot of breakthroughs. I mean, Jurassic Park, Men in Black, obviously. Let's see, Dragonheart, all kinds of motion pictures were being made that broke barriers.
Yes.
And we were there, and it was exciting. And with Star Wars, anything went. I mean, Star Wars used digital effects, used practical effects. And George Lucas gave us so much blue sky. And so we just were crazy. Everything it was great. It was this tiny art department. We were just nuts. It was great.
That sounds amazing.
It really was. I miss kind of
cool.
Wild West atmosphere.
But I think we're at a really important time in history where the artists who are out there that have traversed those kinds of transitions, like moving from traditional to digital, and really pioneering that, learning how to take traditional principles and adapt them to a platform like Photoshop. We really need those voices right now because the digital workflow has been around long enough that you've got folks that are coming up that's all that they've done.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I do find that sometimes with the tremendous amount of options that you have of what you can do digitally, you can get paralyzed by like, well, what's the correct way to do this?
Right.
As opposed to in traditional medium, you just, I mean, yeah, there are different ways of going about doing something, but as you said, it's really up to you as the artist to how you're going to interact with that canvas and get your idea across.
Yeah, and then there's that exploration, the chaos factor that's in traditional media. I mean, the way the watercolor is going to work is the way the watercolor is going to work. And you go, oh, look at that mess. Oh, that's kind of an interesting mess.
Yes.
And that's something that so far Photoshop can't reproduce unless you scan that mess into your Photoshop program.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's definitely a confidence that comes, right? And a comfortableness with happy accidents.
Yeah, what traditional media teaches you is you need to target when you draw. It's like, this is another thing that I remember Ian and I discussed at length. What is drawing? We just came to the conclusion that drawing is sculpting in 2 dimensions. You're creating an illusion of dimensionality in 2 dimensions. And what traditional media forces you to do is to make targeted decision when you are drawing, you know. And so that's, you can't, there's no delete. You just have your eraser.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, and the amazing thing is like, I'm more of a 2D person, but I've started branching into 3D more, and I've been learning how to sculpt in ZBrush, and getting used to working with 3D forms and the way that light interacts has completely helped me in the way that I approach 2D as well. Like you said, it's sculpting. It's all kind of the same thing. It's just different ways of going about it. And I think what was it? Another artist that appeared at Lightbox last year, who's also, I believe, with us this year too, is Christian Alsman, and he was doing a workshop on keyframe art for film, right? And I went into the workshop expecting, to learn how to paint keyframes, and I did, but the way that we went about it was new for me. And he showed a workflow that was like 75% in 3D. Creating a set and setting up your lights and all of that. And then the last 25% was all the fun 2D stuff you get to do with that after you've set it up. And I think that there's, what I like about his perspective, as well as artists, I think, such as yourself, Ian McCaig, Nathan Fowkes, all these artists who went from traditional to digital. I think now we've got artists like Christian who have gone from traditional to digital, and then also from digital 2D to digital 3D.
Yeah.
And carrying those solid art principles through all those different disciplines creates a really unique voice. And I'm so thankful for events like this where we can get your voices out there, because we need to make sure that the current generation of artists are benefiting from all the stuff that you've done before. All right, guys. So the prompt here has been, what's your superpower? What superpower would you want to have? And I'm wondering if anybody is at a point in their process that they wouldn't mind sharing about where they're going with their sketch. Just not everybody at once.
Maybe I can jump in with a mix of from the questions before. I feel a bit like a dinosaur and a baby at the same time in this room, because it's kind of the first week I draw digitally. And so I'm trying to pretend that I totally belong here. So don't notice guys. But so far I've only worked with traditional tools, so it's a bit of a weird angle from that discussion, I guess. I also have a weird, like unusual path, I guess, in terms of career. I was I was an engineer, and then I did a PhD, and
Engineers.
yeah, and now I started doing 4 years ago, so it's all still very new and very, like some struggles are very real, like what you said before, when it's it's becoming a job, and that can be a bit of a struggle.
Which engineer were you doing, or what engineer?
I studied fluid mechanics.
Oh wow, it's like super hard.
So yeah, maybe I lost track of the question now.
No problem. Well, and we're here for you guys to interact about what you want to interact about.
Yeah, I just thought I would just say that, I think there's so many people that think that, if they reach a certain age, or if they had that specific education or something, the game is over. And I just want to say it's never true, and you always have a choice for that, and it's never too late, basically. I'm 34 now, and I just started 4 years ago, and I'm young compared to, many other artists who start now. So it's there's no limit to that. I just thought I would, just put some words of encouragement there.
Definitely. No, and thank you for saying that, because I totally identify with that. I had a totally different career path for 20 years.
Oh, really?
My art and my creativity was always expressing itself through that. But I made a very hard pivot into concept design at age 40.
What were you doing before?
I was working in nonprofit. So I was working in Europe. I was in Norway for 8 years, and then Amsterdam for 5. And we basically served communities and helped foster, unity between diverse groupings, but we used the arts to do it.
That's awesome.
So it's just community building. But then I can't echo what you were saying enough, in the sense of it's never too late. That's one of the big messages that I know that Bobby says on his podcasts. And even, at Gnomon, in the world of, 3D digital production, we see students come in who are making a switch. They're pivoting a career, and they come in knowing nothing about 3D, and then leaving the school, ready to start working in that industry. So
yeah, and the good thing about this is that it's never a waste of time. Like it's never, like whatever detour you took, it's it's never a mistake. I think it's just building who you are, and like knowing yourself better.
That is so true. And I struggled with that. I struggled with thinking, well, where could I be with my art career if I'd been doing this since my late teens or early 20s. And you can get so caught up in that scarcity mentality. But I think the flip side of that is, when you get into it later in life, you've got a whole different set of life experiences that you get to draw off of. And you have better self-knowledge, so you understand the way that you learn, and I think you're able to leverage the time that you do have much more strong, because you know how precious time is. So I think everybody's journey is everybody's journey. It's just how you steward that journey, what you put into it, and how you enjoy it is what you get out of it.
That's great. I had a question for
to add. Oh, sorry. To add to that, like, just with myself, because I started in traditional layout, right?
Yeah.
2D layout. And I was fortunate enough to start on Tarzan, and I thought, oh, this is great. I made it to Disney. And then everything went digital. And so I kind of had to learn digital, but I found the joy in it, because I found that CG layout, we were finally able to do a lot of things that we were trying to do with a 2D camera. Right?
Yeah,
like we were able to get into the cinematography of it. But I still missed that drawing, right? So that's when an opportunity arose to try out for story. And I went ahead and took it, but I was really scared because, I've been doing layout for 15 years, and now, I got to start over, or it felt that way at least. But what you're saying is exactly right, that, coming at something new, it just rejuvenates your creativity, and it can be a little scary, but ultimately, like, you just become a better artist because of it. So, really take your time and learn what inspires you, but at the same time, be open. Because I know certainly when I was first starting out as a student, I thought, oh, I want to be an animator because that's the only job I knew existed, right? But thanks to my teacher, who saw I was spending more time on my backgrounds, he was like, oh, have you ever heard of the layout department? So I encourage everyone who's just starting out or trying to figure out what they might want to do is to just look out into the world and look at how much opportunity there is. Like even science illustration, right? Like there are so many ways for you to make a career in art that just, take the time to explore that.
Totally.
I had a question for people that like career change. Were there any like sort of like obstacles like with family or friends? Because I know like with me, like I have like typical Asian parents and they're like, you're gonna do a doctor of engineering. And then when I went to switch to art, they're like, oh hell no, like you're not gonna do that. So that was definitely a bit of a struggle for me and then my parents. I'm curious, like for anyone else, were there obstacles along the way with relationships and the challenges of that?
I had that same issue. I mean, I'm also an engineer, so
yes.
So yeah, there were, it was really hard convincing, everybody, and then you say that, oh, and then like you think you can draw, and and you just have to keep at it and try to prove it with what you are able to do, I guess, and just keep doing it, and people will start believing in you.
I'd
funny
say
you said that.
Oh, sorry. I was going to chime in really quick and say, along the lines of family members and just, friends and acquaintances, probably my biggest barrier with regards to that was the expectations that I imagined that they had on me. And really, I was projecting my own limitations on them. When at the end of the day, when I developed the courage to start to lean into some of these things, they were my biggest cheerleaders. But I think I was so scared of disappointing people by making such a big change in my life that I was holding myself back. And then I get to talk to a lot of students too, who they definitely do have that pressure from family members and parents of like, the starving artist, you'll never make money, do something where you're going to be able to support yourself. And to that, I would just say, find some advocates. Find people, maybe even someone who's in the industry who will help you to advocate that this is a real career. Because I do find sometimes that it's just because parents care so much that they can be so heavy-handed. But I know that like with I'm an advocate for the education at Gnomon. That's what I'm talking with students about. And when I'm able to talk to them about all the different jobs that are out there and all the different career paths, and how if you can train effectively, you can join the ranks of people that are doing these kinds of things. So I think information helps quite a bit to be able to advocate for what you want to do. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to listen to you, but it definitely helps to fill in the blanks that might be creating anxiety for people saying, no, don't do art, you won't make money.
What did you mean by limitations, Adam, in terms of your family? Like not saying
sure.
that they would believe in you, or?
No, I think, when you have a 20-year run at something, you've got people, I was in a position where I was carrying a lot of responsibility. I was directing a nonprofit initiative in my city, and I think I was just really concerned that people would be disappointed that I was moving on from that place. And at the end of the day, all of those imagined reactions that I thought that people would have to me didn't happen. So it was really just my anxiety hijacking my perception of what people would think.
I wonder if a lot of that is like internalized fear too, like where, you're almost like subconsciously hoping they have a problem with it, so you have an excuse not to.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
You almost have an excuse like to be afraid to succeed,
Absolutely. I think that opportunity and success has the potential often to create more stress for us than kind of just playing it safe and not taking a risk.
It's funny because it swings the other way too, where like so I've been picking up screenwriting, and as doing boards, I've done it for some time now, so I kind of have a gauge where I'm at. But as a writer, I'm like, where do I stand? So when someone says, "Oh, your stuff is good," you're kind of like, you don't even know how to kind of respond with that. You're like, wait, it's decent. So it's like the other end of that is like, instead of like where you're hoping people would say no, like when they say something's good, you're kind of like, oh, how do I? Okay, now like how do I deal with that response?
Yeah. That's a really important thing. It's something that I've mentioned. I'm taking a creature sculpting class with Jared Krzyzewski at Gnomon right now, and he said something so good to our class that all of the students, about midway through the course, we were starting to turn in, because we turn in a new assignment or what we're working on each week, and we do a critique. And everybody would bring their work almost apologetically, like, well, I didn't get to this part of it, and kind of just poking all the holes in it right out the onset rather than just letting it be on its own. And he was like, look, guys, like, you need to suspend, when you're bringing a piece to someone else, suspend your own critique about it. Just let it be what it is. Especially if you're doing it professionally, don't tell an art director, it's not as good as I think it should be. Present it and let them, give feedback on it rather than, giving that feedback, that critique yourself at the onset. So he's basically just saying, like, stop, just trust that you're going to be your own worst critic. Get it out there, and if somebody gives you a compliment, really believe them, because sometimes I think that can be so hard for us to take.
It also prevents self-sabotage, because if you're going to an art director and you're like, I don't know, I don't, like, it's legitimate when you can go to them and be like, I just can't get this, like, I need your help and your guidance, like, that's what an art director is there for. But at the same time, if you're going to them and you're like, I just don't know, like, I hate this, like, oh, it looks like crap, or, I'm so terrible at my job, like, don't do that, because I always kind of liken it to being like, you're not a construction worker, but you have the orange vest on. Like, it's that confidence of just saying, no, I was hired here. Like, I was hired here for a reason. Like, I just have to feign that confidence until I can actually believe it, because you were hired for a reason, and being confident in your work shows. Like, it actually comes through in your line, and it comes through in your creative decisions.
Absolutely. And I think an art director would rather direct someone who is confidently failing and open to direction than to someone who is just self-sabotaging themselves the whole time.
I think in terms of like what you're saying, Adam, too, about advocates, I think what really helped me out is when you have like someone that you really respect. That's like my mentor, where he was like, I think you have what it takes to make it in. And I think that getting that permission to succeed was something that I kind of needed from me to hear that, especially coming from like an environment where the parents aren't supportive. They're like, you're not talented, you can't do this. So that I have someone that you look up to when they say that, it's a gem that like I held on to that sort of helped push me through.
Your artwork will never be perfect. It will never be.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Even your most, let's say, favorite piece, you look at it the next day and go, eh. And I think one thing in teaching, I teach a schoolism class, and I tell my students, I say, you're never going to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection as long as you are a mortal human being. Excellence is possible. You can push for excellence, but excellence, it has a lot of freedom in it. But perfection, all that does is make you afraid.
Absolutely.
I also like to think about that. Like, for me, what always helped motivate me to like kind of keep working is, or like keep moving on, is the fact that like I always see my best work ahead of me, because it's like on the backs of all of my past experiences. So naturally, like if I just keep going, it's going to, like, with time, obviously it's like I'm going to get better. So that always like motivates me to keep, at least like, oh, if I'm not happy with this piece, it's like I have the next one to look forward to, because it's like mounted on the back of my experience with this piece. And it's just like, oh, I'll just make better decisions moving forward, because I've learned something along the way. So that always just motivates me to keep moving forward, not to dwell on anything, because obviously it's like not every day is perfect. You have outside sources that could be affecting your workflow today. So it's just like all of that. It's just like, brush it off. You're going to keep drawing anyway. So why worry about the current things? It's like kind of looking forward is at least always helps me whenever I'm kind of like in a tough spot.
Has anybody had the opposite experience where you've been really wrestling with a piece and you're like, I hate this, I'm just going to put it away, and then you find it like 2 or 3 months later and you're like, oh, this is really interesting, and then you immediately want to start working with it?
Yeah. I think like that healthy distance from it, because sometimes you're just like too much in the like nitty gritty of it that you're not like, you kind of lost sight of maybe like the broader idea you had going into it. And then like once you step back and look at it again, you're like, oh, I remember why I wanted to even start it, kind of thing.
And I think you can, after a certain amount of time, you can see more too. Whereas you were growing at one stage, but then, 3 months later, you can see more possibility with the piece, which is a cool place to be in. Like I always I'll have students talk with me and be like, I just feel like I'm doing so badly with this, and I wish I was better here. And I'll ask them questions like, well, what do you see that it should be? And when they tell me that, when they can articulate that, I'm like, congratulations, like you can see more than you're able to execute right now, and that's a good place to be in, because you're not plateauing.
Know where to go.
Yeah,
you know where to like move forward with. It's not like, it's like you won't be lost moving forward. At least it's not like just feeling in the dark. You kind of know what to work on next, at least.
Yeah.
That's,
I know.
I mean, that's something I've been
with that. Oh, go ahead.
It's interesting to look at the work of great masters throughout the decades of their lives and see how they've changed. Or you can look at illustrators. For example, I mean, Norman Rockwell, obviously consummate throughout his career, but look at his early Saturday evening post covers compared to those in the last decade of his life.
It's actually loves seeing the progress of my own work sometimes. Like it's like as cringy as it is sometimes to see my old stuff, I'm just like recognizing, oh shoot, I grew so much in the last in that time period. And that like is infinitely more motivating sometimes, like recognizing like, man, I grew a lot, and like I didn't even realize it necessarily, or like the time passed, and I'm like, growing can be effortless, and I'm like, and because for me, like drawing should be fun for me in any point. So it's like, as long as I can ease the burden, as long as I'm having fun while I'm doing it, it's like that's kind of like my priority. So it's easing that kind of anxiety at any point. So, but it's also like really nice pat on the back. It's like, oh man, I did it. It's always like nice to feel.
For sure. We have to be able to be our own advocates, I think as artists, we always have like 100 reasons why we shouldn't do something. And maybe one reason why we might go, I think I can do that. We got to listen to that one reason.
Sure, our guest teachers too, our errors. It's like, oh, okay, well that didn't work, so I won't do that again. Or maybe part of it worked, I'll use that, but the rest, well, it's okay to not, to make mistakes.
For sure. And I think it kind of sucks sometimes that we do this for a living, and it's that feeling of like, oh, I can't mess up, I can't have mistakes. But it's like, that's part of the process. I kind of like when I make a mistake, because otherwise it's like, I can't tell I'm growing if I don't make a mistake. It's like recognizing it sometimes. It's like, I'm growing, and making sure it's like a fun process.
You guys, I could do this all day, but believe it or not, we're actually in the last minutes of our time doing this. I'm so sad because I could just ride this out through the whole weekend and just stay on this thing. But before we start to wrap things up, could everybody just really quickly share how you chose to interact with the prompt of what superpower would you like to have? I think maybe we'll just take it in order of the canvas. If we can just start up in the upper left and kind of work our way across like reading a page. So we could start maybe with Brian. Is that you up there in the?
That's me.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, who doesn't want to fly, right?
Absolutely.
So that was like, anytime I hear superpower, I hear, oh, I want to fly. So I just thought, well, what's a fun kind of superhero take on that? And then purposefully, again, in the spirit of how the conversation has been going, trying something new, I figured why not go a little bit out of my comfort zone and try to be more color shape oriented and that sort of thing. and just explore it. And I have to say, while I'm maybe not as happy with how the drawing is coming out, I've really enjoyed it because it's kind of that feeling of, well, it's just for fun. It's just for experimenting. And so I appreciate the opportunity.
And the drawing is fun. That totally comes across too. I love it.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Jason, I like what I'm seeing, but I'll let you fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I guess going off a similar idea and also thinking about COVID and how we can't travel so easily now. Like, oh, it'd be pretty sweet to like have teleportation powers, so you don't have to get in an airplane and sit with 100 people in a tin can for a few hours. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it would give us the ability to return from quarantine and still not have to commute.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No commute.
All right. And then who is I'm so sorry, I forgot who's going by the handle Funwood.
I just
there you
always
are. Yeah.
wanted to be a shapeshifter since I was a little kid, and my reasoning, I mean, of course, was just that I love animals, but also, like, if you want to fly, just turn into a bird. If you want to be invisible, turn into a bug or something really tiny. Like, just about anything that you could want out of a superpower. I always thought you could just get it by turning into some kind of animal.
That's awesome. It's almost like the wish of wishing for more wishes. Cool. And then who do we have just to the right of Miranda's? Prem?
Prem, I think you're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, because there was some construction going on here, so I muted myself earlier. Hello?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking of, because of the pandemic and everything, and all the people, the Amazon people and everybody who has been doing that. So what if we got birds or some animals to transport all our stuff that we're ordering, so that people don't have to do it.
That's awesome. I love the Amazon bag that's being carried there. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's really cool. And then Gray, I think I'm seeing some Sailor Moon influence over here.
Yeah, so I kind of deviated from the prompt a little bit.
No problem.
I like to, in my free time, I like to make little illustrations featuring my cat as her own little original character. So I kind of like drew her as a little Sailor Moon here, and then Superman influence down there. So yeah.
You just very benevolently decided to give your cat the superpowers instead of taking them for yourself, right?
Yeah, she's more fun to draw.
Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna go over to like the second row down, back over to the left, and I think this is a guy that he's made a couple appearances on the page. Ball Man, is that right?
Yeah. I want to be buff, cute, and round, and I'm gonna shoot little miniature versions of myself.
I love it.
that can do other stuff.
So
never have enough time on myself.
Amazing.
So that's my superhero goals.
Wait, he eats time? Is that what he does?
Well, yeah, he eats time too, because time tastes delicious.
Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank you. And then who we've got? I think Marie Alice just next to you there.
Yeah, just flying, I guess, and naked apparently. Yeah.
The superpower of flying with no shame.
Yeah, it's just this is pretty dope.
Cool. All right, and then I'm gonna go to it looks like who is it that's like a lot of looks like sketches all by the same person, kind of through the middle there.
This is me, Casey.
Yeah.
So I started off with time stops when I take a nap. It's like
Nice.
me and my friends used to have like silly prompts where like, oh, if you had a superpower, but having some sort of like kind of grounded limitation to it, where you're like, you're not gonna OP, you know, like you're gonna have some limitations to it. And for me, was always like, if I'm taking a nap, time pauses for a second.
I love
Time
it.
pauses with me. First of all, I love napping, but sometimes my naps are too long. People call it like it's not really a nap, like 2 hours at least. Like if I pass out, it's like I'm out for 2 hours. So it's always like I lose a lot of time all of a sudden. So it's just like you just pause.
Can it count for like your regular 8 hours of sleep too? Like
Well, see, my problem with that is like I actually like progression. Like I enjoy that. Like some of my like the things I end up doing is because I'm crunched on time, or like there's a natural progression. I don't want time to always stop when I fall asleep.
Mhm.
But like when I'm taking a nap, it's like that's when I'm like just don't let me like accidentally lose half my day.
just pause button.
I think
yeah.
just pause button, because like actually last weekend I took a nap and I was out for 4 hours and I woke up, it was like dark. I was like, what happened?
Wow.
I was like, what
Well,
happened?
that's called time travel.
So.
Actually, that's the longer naps.
It feels like time traveling, but it's not completely what I wanted. Time traveling.
I love it. So many different creative ideas for superpowers. I love it. I'm totally gonna steal the time stops when I take a nap, because like it takes a power nap and makes it that much more powerful.
Exactly. It's another layer to the power nap.
Totally. Okay, who is it? Manny that's doing kind of the tiger human here?
Yeah, I started something, then went to something else. Yeah, I've always thought about shapeshifting. I think it'd be great. Yeah. So there you go.
But then you don't like completely become that animal. You still get to be like humanoid, but you just have all the animal's abilities.
Yeah, I always got too lazy.
No,
But it'd be fun to go. It'd be fun to go all the way, right? But I think the girls will like you half a tiger, dude. So
well, and why not? Like I always thought, like why can't the werewolf like pause midway, right?
I know it'd be like a good-looking Brad Pitt werewolf.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So so there you go. That's my superpower. I try to stop the lycanthrope for shapeshift like
I love
midway.
It. Your superhero name would not be Missing Link, but Missing Links.
Yeah, exactly.
All
There
of
you
them.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I get Terrell's attention as a half werewolf dude.
You could have a really good career as a model for creature artists.
There you
You'd
go.
be in very high demand.
I wouldn't have to be bringing golden eagles and wolves to the expo anymore. I'll just come as myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then who's the lion superhero here?
That's
Dave.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super strength, most definitely. It's so cool to just be able to like take one trip from the car after the grocery store, especially like. Because you stock up like every 2 weeks now, so you buy like $400 worth of groceries, and you're like, oh man.
Of course, nowadays it's like the Instacart order. You can just go right out the car and be like, no problem, I got it all. I'll just take it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's fine. You don't even get out.
Yeah.
Just pop your trunk. Like...
and then there's almost like a Punisher logo on the chest here. Is that any significance?
No, it was just I wanted to put a logo, and I just drew a skull. Like it was very. I feel like that's a lot of my work where I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like just drawing this part, and then I just make something up.
Yeah, and put a skull on it.
Crush skulls to the pegs.
Yeah, put a skull on it.
Put a skull on it, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, why not?
All right, cool. And then, is this also, are these two the same, the Sailor Moon and then also the cat? Yeah, the cat down here. The super cat.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. And then I think, Terryl, this is you down in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah, that's my little drawing. That's my reinterpretation of the Scroobius Pip by Edward Lear wrote the poem, and then sometime I think in the early 60s was this beautiful children's book, and was it Hilary Knight who did the illustrations? Can't quite remember, but it was just this wonderful concept of this creature that was a very chimeric of many different parts that represented all different parts of nature. And so this is my little reinterpretation of it, and I felt like, being adaptable and being able to go with the different realms, like the bird's head, for flight, and of course, parrots and parakeets are very clever, and then the deer's legs for swiftness for running in on the grass, and then the tails of the little cutaway jacket, those are more like little wings, and then the long the fishtail, you can just swim in the ocean. So being able to be comfortable in all those places and environments and in the imagination is,
I love it.
That's all that is, you know, it's just a little thing.
It reminds me of what we're all striving towards as artists, right? That adaptability and, you know, it can go anywhere, be anywhere. And so would this be you? Would you want to be able to?
I'd like to, sort of be able to do that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
You can shapeshift into a unicorn.
Oh, well, don't give me away, Nanny.
I'm sorry. I thought we were just,
So if we see a unicorn in the wild, we know that's Terryl now, right?
Yeah,
that's Terryl. That's Terryl.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Check the gender.
I want to make sure that I've gotten to everyone here. Oh no, I haven't gotten to. We've got. Looks like somebody might have fallen asleep in their cereal bowl over here on the left side.
Oh, that was me. I was
cool.
Sleeping.
Yeah, that's the time. Time stops.
Awesome.
Time stops when I nap.
Oh, right. Yes. Sorry.
Even when I'm eating.
Oh, and were the smaller sketches here also yours?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
I love it.
Sorry that I have to ask, but I'm jumping so much between my right brain and left brain right now. Is there anybody who I missed on the canvas? Please speak up if I have missed you. Okay, I feel like I got everybody. Okay, cool.
What would your superpower be, Adam?
Ooh. I
would Ian McKeg.
Well, no, I see. I would have to take a page out of Ian's book and say I would want to turn into the best Adam Hartel I could be. But I think for me, as someone who loves concept design, I would love the ability to conjure up whatever I could imagine and visualize in my head. To like just be able to conjure that up, right? In 3 dimensions and be able to interact with it.
To be able to take what's in your mind's eye, put it on paper,
or just put it into just manifest it right there.
Yeah.
You know,
that's awesome.
And then I could draw it and say that I used my own imagination as reference. Cool, guys. This has been so much fun. I'm super excited because this is just the first of 4 that I get to do this weekend. But it has been such a pleasure to be with you guys and just hang out like this. I think also just having been socially distanced for so long, it was really cool to hang out with this many people at once in a creative space. So thank you so much for giving your time, everyone. Thanks for just jumping in and making this super awesome with everything you've been drawing. And guys, everybody in the chat, this is the first of 4. We will be back tomorrow from 1 to 3 o'clock Pacific time, U.S. Pacific time. We'll also have another one tomorrow from 4 to 6, and then another one Sunday evening. So please come back. Please join us here again. We're going to have some more artists coming in tomorrow. And I'll just give a quick shout out for those of you who might have just found this stream that weren't coming over from Lightbox. Check out Lightbox Expo online. Just go, I think it's just lightboxexpo.com. Check it out. It's the entire weekend, an amazing virtual art conference with some of the most amazing industry artists and illustrators and you name it. Everybody's coming together. What we're doing here is just a part of that. Additionally, I also want to give a shout out for Gnomon School, who has lent their Twitch stream to host this event today. Gnomon is a 3D art school in Hollywood that specializes in training artists for careers in VFX, games, and animation. We have accredited degree programs, certificate programs, and individual classes. So, and I should close with this, actually. Everybody, if you are interested in taking an individual class at Gnomon, there's no portfolio submission required. You can just enroll in individual classes. They're all 100% online right now. And Gnomon wants to offer a special discount for everybody who's found this through Lightbox, that if you do that, you want to register for a class, if you just use the discount code Lightbox, that's not hard to remember, you'll get a 20% discount on an individual class at Gnomon. So we were talking about career changes or learning new skills or utilizing time during quarantine. An individual class at Gnomon would be a great way to do that. I'm going to paste information about that in the chat, guys. So with that, I'll just kind of let these guys draw as we close out the stream. But please come back and see us again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll be streaming with some more artists for another art jam. The discount code there is in the chat, and I'll just include one more thing. There you
Thank
go.
you so much, Adam.
Oh, this is my pleasure,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, there was no arm twisting needed whatsoever. As soon as I caught a hint of what Bobby was wanting to do with this, I was like, yes, and yes to whatever you're asking. Yes, I'll be there. So this was so fun, guys. Thank you. What I'll do is I'll kind of wrap. I'll turn off the stream while you guys just continue to draw. So our Zoom call won't go away, but I'll just stop the stream here on Twitch. So guys, thanks for tuning in from Twitch. Hope to see you back here again for additional art jams. Just to find my Twitch window now. There we go. And sorry, I've got so many windows open right now. I've got to find there we go. Okay. Yeah, but come back for future events on the Gnomon stream as well. They're all free to the public and they're for your education. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.